All right, so welcome everyone to the CAIS YouTube channel. We are sitting down today with Mary Granger, winner of the 2023 Best AE Award. And Mary is here to talk a little bit about her experience as an associate editor. So Mary, if you could start us off by talking a little bit about the breadth of your experience as an associate editor, and then maybe talk a little bit about your observations about the role and its evolution.
Okay, I have, excuse me, been associate editor for CAIS. I don't know how long. With the education, I want to say track, but education area. Have been AE for many conferences, including AMSIS and ISIS, and with Craig Ranslyke, and Jeff Dick, we were in the AMSIS education track for a number of years. So, I think I have good experience as AE. I really don't know when I started at CAIS. I feel like I've been doing it forever. But I think that one of the things that is important is to get education papers out there, or curriculum pedagogical papers out there. And that was my research, that's Craig's research, but I think we both feel that it's very important. Almost everybody in AIS is faculty at some point and teaches, and anything we can do to help them, either on the research end or, here's some tips for your teaching, is a good deal.
What are some of your observations about the research on teaching and pedagogy that you've seen over your time as an associate editor at CAIS? Is there more pedagogy and education research coming out? Has the content and focus of that research changed? Could you talk a little bit about your observations just about the research that you've been working with in the education and pedagogy department?
Well, I think the research has ramped up. It's definitely a higher level. I deal mostly with the teaching cases, and they really have improved significantly. They all provide some good background and why this is a good case, and so digging into the literature, the IS literature as to why this should be taught, and then of course how this could be taught. So I think it has increased significantly. And I think if you look at the papers, they're no longer just, this is what I did, but more of, this is why I started doing it. And it's grounded in some kind of theory. And then this is what happened. And then they tie it back to the theory. So I think that the level has definitely gone up.
And I think, too, in terms of practical application, the research that's published in the education papers, it gets used. People download and use that research to improve their courses. It's quite clear based on our data.
Yeah, well, you would know. You see what's downloaded. I don't particularly see what's downloaded after I get through with it. But I would agree. And I think that's why it's such an important area, because so many IS faculty do use what we publish. I'm going to give it a little tick here. It's too bad that a lot of the deans and the Research One schools don't value the research, because it's not just research, but it's research that's used for a practical reason. And I guess that's why I always liked it, because you could read somebody's paper or their case or whatever and say, oh, I could do this. And maybe I don't do it exactly that way, but that's a good idea. And I could implement it in my classroom. And I was always looking for another way to torture my students, if I put it that way. One of my secondary field was cognitive science. So I'm always interested in how people think and how to get them to think. And some of the articles in CAIS especially give you a different way of presenting it, and everybody doesn't necessarily understand one way. So if you can present it, okay, if you don't understand this, try this, because there's multiple ways to solve a problem and to understand the problem.
And I think that segues really well into my next two questions for you, Mary, and that is, what is the best part of being an associate editor? And then maybe a little bit about what are some of the challenges associated with that role?
Okay, I would say the best part, I like reading the papers. I know some AAs might go, well, why would I do that? I think from being a reviewer to being an AE, and probably I don't ever aspire to be an editor, so don't ask. What you can learn from other people is amazing. You may not agree with it, but I think the learning experience is amazing. I can remember one time turning to my office mate and saying to him, "This paper is great. You really should read it because it's more your stuff than my stuff, but you will really learn a lot from it, I think," or they agree with you, or so I think the opportunity for me to keep learning is why I did a lot of the reviewing. As far as the downside, of course, telling somebody that their paper is not acceptable is tough. But I think we are not just saying, we don't like it. We are giving them constructive criticism, if you want to use the term criticism, but constructive advice on how to improve the paper. Some of them have very, very good ideas, but their presentation, you can't get through page one. And you say, this has got to be rewritten. This is, I like your idea, but try this. I think one of the things, and I'll toot my own horn on this, with the cases, people have some good ideas for cases, but their format or their the way they've presented it is not in a I don't want to say acceptable way, but it's not in a way that anybody could use it. So Janice Scipio and I wrote the paper on case writing, and so we actually cheat a little bit by saying, instead of giving them all that you could do this, this, and this, here's a paper. Take a look at this. See what you can do based on this paper to take your ideas, put them in a good format so that they're readable. And even that paper has several ways of doing it. It's not just this is a cookie cutter way of doing it. And telling somebody that and I have one right now that I just looked at, and the two reviewers both came back on decline, so we'll have a few tears on that one. I guess the other hard thing is looking at a paper where you have a reviewer that says accept as is, and then the other reviewer says decline, and you're sitting there going, oh, what do I do with this? I've had papers where reviewers have, let's say, liked the paper and the AE declines it, and I don't know why you send it to a reviewer. So I try to respect my reviewers' opinions. Otherwise, why would I send it to them? I haven't read this paper with the two declines yet, but I'm certainly not inclined right now to say I'm going to accept it. Both reviewers said they would review it again, so I think if the author reworks it, it has a good chance of maybe being looked at again. It'll be looked at again. Maybe it'll take 2 or 3 rounds to get it through. But if the author is willing to work on it, I have reviewers that are willing to work on it, which is another issue. Finding reviewers is really tough. And I saw Craig's interview, and he's right. It's a line on your resume, reviewed for. But I'm going to pick on deans again. I think they need to say to faculty, this is part of the job. I never expected, a pat on the back, or it's just part of the job. Because if I want my paper reviewed, I think other people should review papers. Let me rephrase it. If I review papers, I would expect other people to review papers. It's just part of the job. and you shouldn't expect a big pat on the back. I mean, I've had deans that said, "Oh, you reviewed, or you're an AE. That's a waste of time." I do not think that is a waste of time. That is service to the field, and it should get lots of stars because it is not trivial and it takes a good deal of time sometimes.
It is critical service to the field.
Right. You know, people are not going to review. What are we going to publish? And if you don't, I don't know. I just get on my soapbox. If I don't review, or you don't review, how is anybody going to get tenure? You know, they're going to say, well, it just is, turnabout is fair play. Everybody should be reviewing. And I'm not, you know, I guess Heike said to me 2 years ago, he said, I can't believe the number of papers that we had in the education, because we did that special issue and everything. He said, I counted up. He said, you had 42 papers. And I went, ooh, I did, huh? No wonder I'm tired. That you know, one a month is about what we should be handling. Sometimes two. Last month I said, oh, I'm clear. Now I have two. So, but again, getting reviewers is the tougher part. And if you're a reviewer and you get a note from us, at least say no. Otherwise, we have no idea what you're doing. We just go into limbo. I ask, and David, you see that, I guess, you know, 5 reviewers to get 2. And I'm lucky if I get 1. And I'm lucky if out of that 5, only 2 don't answer me.
I agree, Mary. Craig voiced the same sentiment, and of course, we at the Journal just rely so heavily on those reviewers to keep the standards high, and that adds value to our research and our publications. Another question: advice for new AEs in the future of the AE role. We have a lot of new AEs, and we have a lot of people who are looking to become AEs and editors of departments. And I think that you're in a good place to give some advice. So could you please talk a little bit about what advice you have for new AEs and what you see as the future of the role?
Sure. I'm glad people want to be that. That means that there's a switch from what I'm saying. Maybe they're getting some recognition for doing it, or maybe they just like to do it. Like I like to do it. And I am not looking for recognition on it. I would say try to be constructive. You will get papers, however, that, you know, are written in some language that it's so tough to read that you just need to say, okay, I can't do this, and you know, get good editing and try to take what your reviewers say about the paper. Really, they have done more than you can do, and that's why we send it out, because I can't do every single paper in depth that the reviewers do. You'll have to read the paper, and you'll have your own opinion, and you might say, well, you may totally disagree, but I think, let's say you have 2 that say, you know, minor revisions, and you read it and you go, oh, this is terrible. I think you need to back off a little and see what the other reviewers are saying. I've just seen papers where the reviewers have said yes, and then AE says no, and you're thinking, well, why did they bother even sending it out? So I think as an AE, you've got to respect your reviewers, and try to be constructive. I don't think we get prizes for the number of papers we reject, or accept for that matter, but there's a lot of good ideas out there if they were just presented in a better fashion, or clearer, or they do it a little more research, or provide a little more background. And that's all we're asking them to do. They're very publishable and very worthwhile. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hate to see some good ideas just get dumped because someone doesn't says, oh, well, I don't like the way it was written, or I don't like the way it was presented. I'll dig a little deeper and really look at the ideas and the methodology and see if it's salvageable. Because I think a lot of them are.
Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your contribution to CAIS. Thank you for all of those things. So much appreciated from me and Dennis and Mary. We all are very grateful for all of those things. So thank you, Mary.
Well, thank you very much. Have a good day.